Before we learn to strive, we learn to play. As children, play wasn't a break from learning. It was the way our brains grew stronger, more flexible, and more alive. Somewhere along the path to adulthood, we were taught that play is optional, even wasteful, but neuroscience tells a different story. Play is not a luxury. It is a powerful biological signal that tells the brain it is safe to explore, adapt, and change. When we engage in play, we unlock creativity, sharpen focus, regulate stress, and reopen critical windows for learning. Today, we'll explore how play can rewire your brain not to escape life, but to engage with it more fully, joyfully, and intelligently. Play is often misunderstood as something childish, unproductive, or secondary to real work. But from a neuroscience perspective, play is one of the most powerful activators of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its structure and function in response to experience. Neuroplasticity is the foundation of learning, memory, creativity, and recovery, and play uniquely places the brain into an optimal state for all of these processes. When the brain engages in play, it enters a mode of exploration rather than survival. This distinction is critical. In survival mode, driven by chronic stress, fear, or rigid goals, the brain prioritizes efficiency and threat avoidance. Neural circuits become narrow and repetitive. In contrast, play signals safety. It tells the nervous system that experimentation is allowed, mistakes are not dangerous, and novelty is welcome. This safety signal unlocks plasticity by reducing excessive stress hormones like cortisol, while increasing neuromodulators such as dopamine and acetylcholine, which are essential for learning. Dopamine, often oversimplified as the reward chemical, plays a deeper role during play. It heightens attention, increases motivation, and marks experiences as worth remembering. During playful states, dopamine is released not just when we succeed, but when we explore, anticipate, and discover. This means the brain becomes more sensitive to learning signals, strengthening synaptic connections even without external rewards. In simple terms, play teaches the brain how to learn, not just what to learn. Another key factor is error-friendly learning. Traditional learning environments often punish mistakes, which activates threat responses in the brain. Play reverses this dynamic. In play, mistakes are expected, even enjoyable. This dramatically accelerates learning because the brain updates neural maps faster when errors are processed without fear. Studies in both animals and humans show that playful learning leads to stronger, more adaptable neural networks compared to rigid repetition alone. Play also engages multiple brain systems simultaneously. Sensory processing, motor control, emotion, memory, and decision-making networks all activate together during playful activities. This cross-network engagement strengthens communication between different brain regions, making learning more robust and transferable. That's why skills learned through play, such as problem-solving, social intelligence, and adaptability, tend to generalize across life situations rather than remaining context-specific. Importantly, neuroplasticity through play does not disappear in adulthood. While critical learning windows are strongest in childhood, the adult brain retains a remarkable capacity to rewire when given the right conditions. Play is one of the fastest ways to recreate those conditions. Whether through games, creative challenges, physical movement, humor, or imaginative thinking, play reintroduces novelty and emotional engagement, two core drivers of adult plasticity. Play also enhances long-term learning retention. Experiences associated with positive emotion and curiosity are encoded more deeply into memory. This is why playful learning feels less exhausting and more sustainable. Instead of relying on sheer willpower, play leverages the brain's natural learning machinery, making growth feel energizing rather than draining. In a world that glorifies constant productivity, play may seem inefficient. Neuroscience reveals the opposite. Play is not a break from progress. It is a biological accelerator for learning and brain change. By intentionally reintroducing play into our lives, we don't just improve performance. We reshape the brain into a more flexible, resilient, and adaptive system, capable of learning faster and thriving longer. Motivation is often treated as a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. Neuroscience tells a different story. Motivation is a brain state, shaped largely by dopamine, and one of the most effective ways to regulate this system is through play. Play does not just feel good, it strategically engages the dopamine system in a way that sustains curiosity, effort, and long-term drive without burnout. Dopamine is commonly misunderstood as the brain's reward chemical, but its true role is about anticipation and pursuit, not pleasure itself. It is released when the brain detects the possibility of learning, progress, or discovery. Play is uniquely designed to stimulate this system because it thrives on uncertainty, novelty, and exploration. Unlike rigid tasks with fixed outcomes, play keeps the brain asking, "What happens next?" a question that fuels dopamine release and sustained engagement. Curiosity sits at the center of this process. When we are curious, dopamine levels rise in brain regions responsible for attention and learning, such as the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. Play naturally triggers curiosity by lowering the cost of engagement. There is no heavy pressure to perform, no looming fear of failure. This psychological safety allows curiosity to lead behavior, which in turn strengthens intrinsic motivation. The brain becomes motivated not by external rewards, but by the experience of learning itself. One of the most powerful aspects of play is its ability to reset a depleted dopamine system. Modern life often overstimulates dopamine through constant notifications, artificial rewards, and high-pressure goal chasing. This leads to motivational crashes, boredom, and a sense of emotional flatness. Play offers a corrective mechanism. Because playful activities generate moderate, rhythmic dopamine release rather than sharp spikes, they restore sensitivity to motivation signals. Over time, this recalibration makes effort feel meaningful again. Play also teaches the brain to associate effort with enjoyment. In many adult learning environments, effort is linked to stress or obligation, which suppresses dopamine and reduces persistence. Play rewires this association. When challenge is paired with enjoyment and curiosity, the brain learns that effort is safe and rewarding. This shift dramatically increases follow-through and resilience, especially during difficult learning phases. Importantly, play keeps motivation self-sustaining. External rewards, money, praise, or outcomes can initiate action, but they rarely maintain it long-term. Play-driven motivation, however, is internally generated. The brain continues to seek engagement because the process itself is rewarding. This is why people can lose track of time while playing games, experimenting creatively, or learning through exploration. Dopamine remains active not because of the end goal, but because progress itself feels meaningful. Another often overlooked benefit is how play prevents dopamine burnout. When motivation is driven solely by pressure and achievement, dopamine release becomes tightly tied to success, making failure emotionally costly. Play loosens this dependency. Because outcomes matter less, dopamine remains stable even when mistakes occur. This protects motivation and encourages repeated attempts, an essential ingredient for mastery. Ultimately, play is not a distraction from serious goals. It is a neurochemical strategy for sustaining motivation. By engaging curiosity, regulating dopamine, and reframing effort as enjoyable, play transforms how the brain approaches challenge. Instead of forcing motivation through discipline alone, play teaches the brain to want to learn, explore, and grow. That shift from pressure to curiosity is where lasting motivation is born. Stress is not inherently harmful. In short bursts, it sharpens focus and prepares the body for action. The problem arises when stress becomes chronic. Long-term activation of the nervous system's threat response reshapes the brain in ways that reduce learning, emotional regulation, and mental flexibility. One of the most powerful and overlooked ways to regulate this system is through play. Play is not just psychologically relaxing, it is a biological signal of safety that directly reshapes how the nervous system responds to stress. When we perceive threat, the sympathetic nervous system activates, heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, muscles tense, and stress hormones such as cortisol flood the body. This state narrows attention and prioritizes survival over learning. While useful in emergencies, remaining in this state for too long damages memory, impairs decision-making, and weakens immune function. Play interrupts this cycle by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest, recovery, and repair. During play, the brain receives consistent signals that the environment is safe. Laughter, rhythmic movement, social connection, and novelty all lower cortisol levels while increasing neuromodulators that promote calm focus, such as serotonin and oxytocin. This shift does not require complete relaxation. In fact, many forms of play are physically and mentally demanding. What matters is the absence of perceived threat. The nervous system can be highly active without being stressed, and play occupies this sweet spot. One of the most important benefits of play is how it teaches the nervous system flexibility. Chronic stress locks the brain into rigid patterns of response, where every challenge feels urgent and overwhelming. Play reintroduces variability. It exposes the brain to manageable challenges that rise and fall in intensity, allowing the nervous system to practice transitioning smoothly between states of activation and recovery. This adaptability is a core marker of resilience. Play also enhances emotional regulation. Under chronic stress, the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for impulse control and emotional balance, loses influence, while the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, becomes overactive. Play restores this balance. By reducing fear-based signaling, play strengthens top-down control, making it easier to regulate emotions, respond thoughtfully, and recover more quickly from stressors. Social play is particularly powerful in this regard. Human nervous systems are deeply interconnected. Playful interaction, shared laughter, cooperative games, creative collaboration synchronizes nervous systems and amplifies feelings of safety and belonging. This co-regulation reduces stress more effectively than isolation or passive relaxation. From an evolutionary perspective, play signaled trust and bonding, reinforcing survival through connection rather than vigilance. Importantly, play does not eliminate stress. It trains the nervous system to handle it better. By repeatedly entering a state of energized safety, the brain learns that activation does not always mean danger. Over time, this rewiring reduces baseline anxiety and improves stress tolerance. Challenges that once triggered overwhelm begin to feel manageable, even engaging. In adulthood, many people attempt to manage stress solely through rest or avoidance. While rest is essential, it does not teach the nervous system how to stay calm under pressure. Play fills this gap. It combines engagement with safety, movement with enjoyment, and challenge with curiosity. These elements recalibrate the stress response at a biological level. In a culture that equates seriousness with productivity, play is often dismissed as frivolous. Neuroscience reveals the opposite. Play is a regulatory tool that restores balance to the nervous system, protects the brain from the damaging effects of chronic stress, and creates the internal conditions necessary for learning. Creativity and long-term mental health. Creativity is not a rare talent reserved for artists or innovators. It is a fundamental brain function rooted in cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift perspectives, adapt to new information, and generate novel solutions. One of the most effective ways to strengthen this ability in adulthood is through play. While play is often associated with childhood, neuroscience shows that adult play actively reawakens the brain networks responsible for creativity and adaptive thinking. As we age, the brain naturally becomes more efficient but less flexible. Repeated routines strengthen familiar neural pathways while unused ones weaken. This efficiency is useful for productivity but costly for creativity. Over time, thinking becomes predictable, problem-solving becomes rigid, and novel ideas feel harder to access. Play directly counteracts this process by introducing novelty, unpredictability, and experimentation, which force the brain to explore new neural routes. During play, the brain reduces its reliance on habitual patterns and engages the default mode network and executive control network simultaneously. This unique overlap allows spontaneous idea generation to coexist with focused evaluation. In practical terms, this is the neural state where creativity thrives. Ideas emerge freely, yet the brain remains capable of shaping them into something useful. Without play, these networks rarely cooperate so fluidly. Play also lowers the internal barriers that suppress creative thinking. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, and pressure to be correct all limit cognitive exploration. These fears activate threat circuits that shut down imaginative thought. Play neutralizes these barriers by reframing mistakes as part of the process. When outcomes feel less consequential, the brain permits risk-taking, which is essential for creative breakthroughs. Another critical mechanism is pattern disruption. Creativity often emerges when the brain breaks away from existing frameworks. Play intentionally disrupts patterns through humor, role, switching, games, and imaginative scenarios. This disruption forces the brain to reassess assumptions and explore alternatives. Over time, this trains cognitive flexibility, the mental skill that allows you to adapt quickly in unfamiliar situations. Adult play is especially powerful because it restores beginner's mind, a state of openness where curiosity outweighs certainty. In this state, the brain becomes more sensitive to new information and less attached to past solutions. Research shows that playful learning increases divergent thinking, the ability to generate multiple solutions to a single problem. This skill is critical not only for creativity, but also for leadership, problem solving, and innovation. Physical play further enhances cognitive flexibility by engaging the brain-body connection. Movement-based play, sports, dance, improvisation stimulates brain regions involved in coordination, timing, and spatial awareness. These areas are deeply linked to higher-order thinking. When the body moves in novel ways, the brain is forced to update internal maps, strengthening adaptability across cognitive domains. Importantly, creativity strengthened through play transfers into real-world performance. People who regularly engage in playful activities demonstrate greater resilience, faster learning, and improved problem-solving under pressure. This is because cognitive flexibility allows the brain to pivot rather than freeze when conditions change. In modern adulthood, creativity is often squeezed out by schedules, responsibilities, and constant evaluation. Play offers a neurological reset. It reopens pathways that routine has narrowed and restores the brain's capacity to imagine, adapt, and innovate. Ultimately, adult play is not a distraction from serious thinking, it is the training ground for it. By intentionally incorporating play into daily life, we rebuild creativity at the neural level, strengthening cognitive flexibility and preparing the brain to meet complexity with curiosity rather than resistance. Emotional resilience is the brain's ability to adapt to stress, recover from setbacks, and remain flexible in the face of uncertainty. It is not about avoiding difficulty, It is about responding to challenge without becoming overwhelmed or emotionally rigid. Neuroscience reveals that one of the most effective ways to build this resilience and protect long-term mental health is through play. Play is not emotional escapism. It is emotional training at the level of the nervous system. When life becomes demanding, the brain often shifts into a defensive mode. Negative emotions narrow attention, amplify threat perception, and reduce cognitive flexibility. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, emotional numbness, or burnout. Play interrupts this cycle by creating a state of emotional safety while still allowing engagement and challenge. This combination teaches the brain how to experience strong emotions without being consumed by them. One of the key mechanisms behind this effect is emotional regulation. During play, emotional responses rise and fall naturally: excitement, frustration, surprise, joy, without lasting consequences. This repeated exposure helps the brain practice regulating emotion in real time. The prefrontal cortex strengthens its ability to modulate limbic activity, making it easier to manage emotions outside of play. In simple terms, play trains the brain to feel without flooding. Play also reduces emotional rigidity. Under chronic stress or unresolved emotional strain, the brain becomes stuck in familiar emotional patterns: worry, irritation, hopelessness. Play introduces variability. It creates new emotional experiences that disrupt these loops and expand the range of emotional responses available to the brain. This flexibility is a hallmark of psychological health and a strong predictor of resilience. Another powerful effect of play is its impact on self-compassion. Many adults operate under constant self-evaluation, where mistakes are interpreted as personal failures. This internal pressure increases anxiety and suppresses emotional recovery. Play reframes failure as information rather than judgment. Losing a game, making a mistake, or experimenting unsuccessfully carries no lasting threat. Over time, this reduces self-criticism and fosters a healthier internal dialogue. Social play has an especially strong influence on mental health. Human brains are wired for connection, and playful interaction strengthens social bonds through shared positive emotion. Laughter, cooperation, and shared challenges increase oxytocin, which buffers stress and promotes trust. These experiences reinforce a sense of belonging, one of the most protective factors against depression and chronic anxiety. Play also helps process difficult emotions indirectly. Creative play, art, music, storytelling, improvisation allows emotional expression without requiring explicit verbalization. This is especially important when emotions are complex or difficult to articulate. By giving emotions a safe outlet, play prevents emotional suppression, which is strongly linked to mental health challenges. Importantly, play builds emotional recovery speed. Resilient individuals are not those who experience less stress, but those who return to baseline more quickly after emotional disruption. Play accelerates this recovery by repeatedly guiding the nervous system back into balance. This strengthens the brain's ability to move fluidly between emotional states rather than remaining stuck in distress. In adulthood, play is often abandoned in favor of productivity and responsibility, yet the cost of this abandonment is emotional fragility. Without play, the brain loses one of its primary tools for emotional renewal and psychological balance. From a neuroscience perspective, play is not optional for mental health. It is foundational. It strengthens emotional regulation, expands emotional range, deepens social connection, and increases resilience against stress and adversity. By reintegrating play into adult life, we give the brain what it needs to remain emotionally flexible, mentally healthy, and resilient in an unpredictable world. Play does not require elaborate games, expensive tools, or large blocks of free time. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain responds not to complexity, but to novelty, engagement, and emotional safety. Simple forms of play, when practiced consistently, can measurably rewire neural circuits related to learning, mood, focus, and resilience. The power of play lies not in how impressive it looks, but in how effectively it shifts brain state. One of the most accessible forms of play is exploratory learning. This includes activities like experimenting with a new skill, learning a language through casual conversation, or approaching a familiar task in an unfamiliar way. The key element is curiosity without pressure. When outcomes are secondary to exploration, the brain releases dopamine and acetylcholine neuromodulators essential for plasticity. Over time, this strengthens attention and accelerates learning across domains. Physical play is another powerful, low-barrier option. Activities such as free-form movement, sports, playful exercise, or even unstructured walking engage motor and sensory systems simultaneously. This combination enhances brain-body integration and increases levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, a molecule that supports the growth and strengthening of neural connections. Importantly, playful movement differs from rigid workouts. The emphasis is on enjoyment and variation, which amplifies neural adaptation. Social play offers some of the most profound brain benefits. Lighthearted conversation, cooperative games, humor, and shared creative activities synchronize nervous systems and promote emotional safety. These interactions reduce stress hormones while increasing oxytocin, which strengthens social bonds and emotional regulation. Regular social play has been shown to improve mood, reduce anxiety, and enhance cognitive performance, particularly in complex social environments. Creative play, such as drawing, music, writing, improvisation, or storytelling, engages multiple brain networks at once. These activities stimulate imagination while requiring focus and coordination. Creative play strengthens communication between brain regions responsible for emotion, memory, and executive function. Over time, this improves problem-solving ability and emotional expression. The value lies not in artistic skill, but in the process of creation without judgment. Even micro-play, short moments of playful engagement, can reshape the brain. Humor, wordplay, playful challenges, or brief imaginative breaks throughout the day reset attention and prevent cognitive fatigue. These moments act as neural refresh points, restoring focus and motivation without the need for extended rest. When practiced regularly, microplay increases mental endurance and reduces burnout. Importantly, the effectiveness of play depends on consistency, not duration. Just a few minutes of genuine play can shift brain chemistry and reinforce adaptive neural patterns. Over time, these small changes accumulate, leading to measurable improvements in mood, learning speed, and stress tolerance. Play also benefits the brain by counteracting monotony. Repetition without variation narrows neural pathways, making thinking rigid and reducing adaptability. Play reintroduces variation, encouraging the brain to form new connections and maintain flexibility. This is especially critical in adulthood when routine dominates daily life. To integrate play effectively, the goal is not to add more tasks, but to change how tasks are approached. Introducing curiosity, experimentation, or humor into existing activities transforms them into playful experiences. This subtle shift signals the brain to remain open, engaged, and plastic. Ultimately, play is one of the most efficient tools for brain optimization available. It is simple, accessible, and biologically powerful. By embracing small, consistent forms of play, we actively rewire the brain toward greater flexibility, emotional balance, and lifelong learning, proving that meaningful brain change does not require force, only curiosity and joy.